I'd like to thank the mayor for organizing this because I believe it is an important topic for the immigration community. And the question that I have for you,
We can hear you.
We're closer.
Hold on. Can you hear me now? Okay, the question I have for you, Mayor, what do you have to give to get a car? And who is collecting the information? And also, if they provide the information, because a lot of people question, for instance, in my community, so for undocumented immigrants, and they're really worried about whether or not if the informations are going out, and whether or not if it's a way if it's a formal database for the ISIS police to show up at their house. So I would like to know that, can you just briefly explain to me, and I would be very happy if you can answer those questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I could answer, I think there were a couple of questions. So one, thank you for your support. Two, in terms of what you have to give to get this card. So some municipalities throughout the country, the way they do it is they have a third-party vendor, but there's an intake office. So there would be an office in City Hall that you go to fill out an application and request an ID. And then there's a third-party vendor that actually creates the card. And then it's your preference as to whether you want to pick that card up in City Hall or it gets mailed to your house. And the price ranges throughout different cities. I think what's very important for us is keeping the cost very low for our families, but there have also been, so let's say a card could be $15 in one city, but then they would also have a discounted rate for youth, the elderly population, and veterans. And also the opportunity that if someone demonstrates low income, the ability to be able to waive fees. So that's one thing we've seen in different cities throughout the country in terms of what you give. And then to your question about accessing the data, so in New York and in California, there have been court cases where people have tried to access this information, and it's been upheld at the court saying that this information, your information on these documents is not accessible. So that's happened within the last year in California and New York. But the security of this information is definitely something that we're looking into, working with our law department and really codifying, keeping that information protected. So it's something absolutely on our radar. I think a very valid point to raise, and something that we're working with our law department on to make sure that we protect people's information and that they don't fear, their private information being given to any of the agencies that you might have mentioned. Does that answer all of your questions?
If I can add two things. Two other pieces to that is I believe that New York City destroys all of the documents that they collect as proof of residency. So they destroy it right away. So we would certainly want to follow the best practices. And then second, it's important that not only undocumented immigrants get the card. Like, I'll get a card, you'll get a card, we'll all get a card. So, that information is of no use. Let's say the government, the federal government is trying to get their hands on it. What we want to do is make it so that it's of no value to them because, most of the people on there, are legal residents. So that's another piece to it too.
And I think that gets to the benefits side. So again, we don't want it to look like if you have this card, you are undocumented, you are X. We want to make sure that everyone wants to sign up for this, which is why the benefits side is so beneficial, to make sure that you're not a targeted group that has this card.
What age level would this start at?
Sure, so in New York City, the minimum age is 14. Richmond, I believe, is 18. Oakland, I believe, is the city that has no age. So I think hearing from the community on what makes sense is something that we would value. 14 sounds like an age that has been used in multiple cities throughout the country as a minimum age requirement.
but every city has actually done it differently.